The crisp white of her wedding gown seemed to mock the rising tide of unease within Eliza, her hand instinctively resting on the gentle curve of her belly. "There's been a change of plans, Eliza," her father's voice sliced through the bridal suite, devoid of warmth or apology. He continued, eyes fixed somewhere beyond her. "Your cousin, Serena, will be marrying Julian Thorne today, in your place." The casual decree ripped through her, leaving behind a silence thick with shattered dreams and a newborn, chilling resolve. The words hung, heavy and poisonous, in the air. Eliza's world, already a delicate sphere cradling the life within her, splintered. Arthur, her father, merely adjusted his tie, his gaze cold, utterly devoid of the warmth a parent should offer their distraught, pregnant daughter on her wedding day. The bustling sounds of the estate preparing for a joyous occasion now felt like a cruel mockery. She clutched her swollen belly, a silent plea for protection to the life inside her. Then Julian appeared, a vision of tailored perfection, his smile practiced, his eyes locking onto Eliza with an intensity that, moments ago, she would have believed was love. "My darling Eliza," he murmured, his voice a bomb she no longer trusted. "Are you ready? Our day is finally here." He reached for her hand, his touch familiar yet now repugnant. The sheer audacity, the flawless performance of the devoted groom, was a fresh stab. He had orchestrated every detail of their wedding, from the imported lilies to the bespoke catering, all while planning to marry her cousin. The meticulousness wasn't affection, it was a testament to his control, his need for a perfect facade. Later, in a quiet corridor, the truth, already a gaping wound, festered with new details. Eliza overheard Julian on the phone, his tone low, intimate. "Serena, my love, a little more patience. Soon, all this charade will be over." Eliza never suspected a thing, she's so utterly predictable. He chuckled, a sound that twisted Eliza's gut. "Yes, even the baby. What a nuisance that became. Don't worry, my father made sure it wouldn't complicate things." A text message then buzzed on Eliza's own phone. From Serena. "Enjoy your last few moments, cousin. Julian and I have already picked out names. And your mother's shares? So useful. Daddy dear made sure they were reassigned, didn't he? A little wedding gift for us." The message confirmed a deeper, more insidious betrayal. Not only had Julian and Serena conspired against her, but her father had actively stripped her of her mother's legacy. The last tangible link to the only true love she'd ever known. A cold, hard resolve settled in Eliza's heart, extinguishing the last embers of pain. No tears fell. Her face, usually so expressive, was now a mask of chilling composure. Julian's fake solicitude, Serena's venomous glee, Arthur's unforgivable indifference, they were all threads in a tapestry of deceit she was determined to unravel, not for revenge, but for her own survival and the quiet justice due to her mother and her unborn child. She would not scream, would not plead. She would simply disappear. Silently, meticulously, Eliza began to plan her escape. The mother's shares, no longer hers, became a bitter reminder of what she had to reclaim. She would leave, not with a bang, but with a ghost's quiet vanishing, taking only her inner strength and the profound secret of their treachery. The weight of her silence was a cloak Eliza wore, heavy with a grief no one yet knew. Just days after her quiet decision to vanish, a package arrived, addressed from a reputable clinic. Inside, nestled amidst medical jargon, was an ultrasound image. A blurry, tiny life Serena's baby. Julian's baby. The confirmation tore afresh, gaping wound in her already shattered heart. It wasn't just an affair, it was a burgeoning family, built on the ashes of her own. A text from Serena followed, saccharine and unsettling. "Eliza, could you meet me at the old oak grove near Miller's Creek? I need to talk. Urgent." Eliza knew it was a trap, another cruel performance. But a morbid curiosity, a desperate need to face the architect of her destruction one last time, pulled her there. The secluded grove, once a childhood sanctuary, now felt like a stage set for her final humiliation. She found them beneath the gnarled branches of the ancient oak, bathed in the late afternoon sun. Serena, clinging to Julian's arm, her face a mask of feigned innocence that barely concealed a predatory smirk. Julian, his arm draped possessively around Serena, his eyes lighting with a familiar, sickening charm as he spoke. They hadn't noticed Eliza yet, hidden by the dense foliage. And then she left, just like that, Julian was saying, a laugh bubbling in his throat. Honestly, it was a relief. All that crying, the melodrama. I mean, who gets pregnant before the wedding, right? So inconvenient. Serena giggled, pressing her head into his shoulder. Darling, you're too kind. She was always so fragile. It was meant to be us always. Julian squeezed her hand. Of course. We'll finally have the family I always wanted. A real family. His words, delivered with such casual cruelty, twisted the knife in Eliza's chest. The man who had cradled her belly, whispered promises to their unborn child, now dismissed her and their shared future as an inconvenience. His hypocrisy was a venomous tide, drowning her in rage. Eliza stumbled back, a choked gasp escaping her lips. Julian's head snapped up, his charming facade cracking as his eyes met hers, widening in a flicker of guilt, then annoyance. Serena's smirk widened, victorious. Look who it is, Julian. Decided to grace us with her presence one last time. Panic flared in Eliza. She turned, desperate to escape the toxic scene, to breathe. But as she fled towards the winding road that led out of the grove, a sudden, blinding flash of headlights consumed her. Julian's luxury sedan, approaching too fast, too distracted, veered around the bend. There was a screech of tires, a sickening thud, and then Eliza was airborne, her body slamming into the cold asphalt. Her last conscious thought was a sharp, piercing pain in her abdomen. The car screeched to a halt. Julian and Serena tumbled out, their faces pale, eyes starting. Julian, my head. I think I hit it on the dash. Serena wailed, clutching her temple with a dramatic flourish. Julian, his initial shock quickly replaced by concern for Serena, knelt beside her. Are you all right, my love? Is the baby okay? He didn't even glance at Eliza, crumpled just meters away, blood blooming beneath her. Eliza. She just ran out, Julian mumbled, more to himself than Serena, already constructing the narrative of blame. Completely reckless. And pregnant, too. What was she thinking? His voice was devoid of empathy, his gaze fixed on Serena's theatrically distressed face. Serena glanced at Eliza, a flicker of cold satisfaction in her eyes, before leaning into Julian. We have to go, darling. I'm scared. What if someone saw? Without another word, without a single glance back at the prone, bleeding woman, Julian helped Serena into the car. The tires spun, showering Eliza with gravel, and the car sped away, leaving her alone on the deserted road. Time blurred. A kind voice, a blur of concerned faces. The piercing wail of a siren. Then, the sterile scent of a hospital. When Eliza finally opened her eyes, a kind-faced doctor stood over her, his expression grim. Miss Hayes, you're very lucky to be alive. A kind stranger brought you in. He paused, his voice softening with regret. I'm so very sorry. We did everything we could. But your injuries were severe. The baby, we couldn't save it. The words hung in the air, a death knell to the last remnants of her past life. Her baby. Gone. Could it have been saved? She whispered, her voice raspy. The doctor's gaze was compassionate. If you'd arrived sooner, perhaps. But the internal bleeding, it was extensive. And no one called for help. Julian never came. He never called. He left her for dead, and in doing so, condemned their child. The heartbreak, already a crushing weight, solidified into something colder, sharper. It was not grief that filled her now, but a glacial resolve. The Eliza who loved Julian, who dreamed of a family, was dead. What remained was a woman forged in fire and ice, stripped of everything but an iron will. She would leave, and when she returned, it would be to claim not revenge, but justice. One brisk autumn afternoon, a familiar, kind voice cut through the hum of her studio. Eliza? Is that truly you? She turned to see Marcus Finch, a brilliant, thoughtful peer from her university days, standing at the threshold, a genuine smile lighting his eyes. He had been an admirer of her early sketches, a quiet presence who always saw beyond the surface. Their reunion was effortless, a gentle current flowing between them that bypassed years of pain. He had, unbeknownst to her, followed her artistic journey from afar, recognizing her unique signature even in anonymous online portfolios. Marcus, now a successful architect and designer himself, spent an hour captivated by her new pieces, his gaze lingering on the depth they held. "Your work, Eliza," he said, his voice soft with reverence, "it's transcendent. You found a language no one else speaks." He paused, then his eyes met hers, filled with a quiet conviction. "I've been planning to expand, to bring a more soulful element into my firm. I need a partner, someone with your vision, your raw truth. Will you consider joining me? We could create something extraordinary together." His proposal was not just professional, it was an unspoken recognition of her strength, a gentle hand extended without pity. Their partnership flourished. Finch and Hayes' design became synonymous with innovative, emotionally charged artistry. Marcus, with his calm demeanor and unwavering belief in her, became her anchor. He never pushed, only supported, his presence the balm. Slowly, painstakingly, the deep chasms in Eliza's heart began to soften, filled not with forgetting, but with a quiet, enduring sense of peace and a fragile, nascent hope. The cold resolve remained, but beneath it, warmth, gently fanned by Marcus, began to glow. 2 years had painted a vibrant new canvas over Eliza's life, transforming the muted hues of sorrow into a rich tapestry of success and quiet joy. Her design studio, Ethel, meaning noble, a subtle nod to her mother, thrived, its unique, emotionally resonant pieces celebrated across the city. Eliza, now a renowned designer, moved with a grace born of confidence, her eyes no longer haunted but alight with creative fire. Marcus, her partner in business and in life, was her steadfast anchor. His gentle strength and unwavering belief had cultivated a sanctuary where her spirit could mend and flourish. They were at a gallery opening, a joint exhibition of their latest works, the air buzzing with appreciative murmurs and champagne flutes clinking. Eliza, elegant in a dress of her own design, laughed at something Marcus whispered, her hand instinctively finding his. It was then she saw him. Julian Thorne. A ghost from a forgotten nightmare, now manifest in the flesh, yet utterly unrecognizable. The sharp, arrogant angles of his jaw had softened into a gauntness that spoke of deprivation, his once commanding eyes now shadowed with a desperate, hollow intensity. He stood hesitant at the edge of the crowd, a cheap, ill-fitting suit hanging loosely on his frame, a stark contrast to the tailored opulence he once exuded. The public humiliation of his abandoned wedding, the subsequent unraveling of Serena's lies regarding her false pregnancy and their affair, had shattered his carefully constructed world. He had tried to salvage his pride through a vengeful campaign against Serena and Arthur, exposing their own deceits to the press, but his efforts had only painted him as a petty, jilted fool. He'd lost everything, his fiancé, his reputation, and a significant portion of his family's backing due to the scandal. He saw her, and a flicker of the old possessive glint returned to his eyes, momentarily eclipsing the desperation. He pushed through the throng, bypassing the art, making a direct, unwavering path toward Eliza. Marcus's hand tightened subtly on hers, a silent question. Eliza met Julian's gaze, her expression unreadable, a wall of composure that betrayed nothing of the churning memories. "Eliza," he breathed, his voice hoarse, thin. I finally found you." He tried to reach for her, but she subtly shifted, placing Marcus between them without a word. "Julian," she acknowledged, her tone cool, distant, like a stranger greeting an acquaintance. "Eliza, please, you have no idea what I've been through," he began, his voice rising, drawing unwanted glances. "After you left, it fell apart. Serena, she was a viper. She manipulated me, lied about everything. Arthur, he turned on me. I lost the wedding, my standing, everything. I've suffered, Eliza. Truly suffered. I've paid for my mistakes. His eyes pleaded, glistening with self-pity, seeking absolution in her gaze. I've changed. I'm not that man anymore. I've had nothing but time to think about you, about us. He gestured wildly. This is incredible what you've built, but it's not us. I know I messed up, Eliza, but we can fix this. Please, come back to me. Let me make it right. I know you still love me. We had a future, a family. Eliza listened, her face a mask of serene indifference. She let him finish, letting the quiet desperation in his voice hang in the air. When he finally fell silent, a breathless, hopeful tremor in his eyes, Eliza took a slow breath. Julian, she said, her voice clear, calm, and utterly devoid of emotion, the woman you knew, the woman who loved you, who dreamed of a future with you, she died 2 years ago. On a roadside, alone. Her gaze was steady, unwavering. There is nothing left to fix between us because there is no us. You lost the right to us the moment you made your choices. My happiness, my success, my life, they are entirely my own, built from the ashes of your betrayal. They do not and will never again involve you. Julian's face crumpled, the last flicker of hope extinguishing. He stared at her, then at Marcus, whose presence was a silent, unyielding declaration. The crowd's murmurs seemed to grow louder, the champagne clinking like tiny, distant bells tolling the end. He opened his mouth, but no words came. There was nothing more to say. Eliza had closed the door, definitively and for good. 2 years later, the silence Serena Hayes had endured after Julian's public humiliation and subsequent abandonment had festered into a desperate hunger for validation. She rebranded herself, emerging as a visionary social media influencer, her feed a curated gallery of lavish lifestyles and inspirational design concepts. Her grand comeback culminated in a high-profile exhibition, provocatively titled Rebirth and Radiance, held in a chic downtown gallery. The invitations, gilded and ostentatious, flaunted designs that made Eliza's stomach clench. They were her own. Not merely inspired, but unmistakably hers. The delicate intertwining botanical motifs, the ethereal luminosity of the silk organza, even a signature brooch Eliza had designed years ago for her mother. Serena hadn't just copied, she had boldly stolen, then twisted it with a cheap, gaudy overlay, daring to claim Eliza's soul as her own. The night arrived. Serena, glittering in a dress that mimicked one of Eliza's early, more provocative designs, beamed at the cameras, basking in the manufactured applause. Just as she began her grand speech, gushing about her innate talent, Eliza's calm, composed face appeared on a split screen, projected onto the gallery's main display, courtesy of Marcus's discreet hacking. The art critic, a sharp-eyed woman known for her integrity, introduced Eliza Hayes, the true visionary behind many of Serena's showcased pieces. With a steady hand, Eliza presented her evidence. Each digital file, each dated sketch, each comparison image laid bare Serena's egregious plagiarism. This piece, Eliza stated, gesturing to a swirling, celestial pattern Serena had called Starlight Symphony, was conceived by me in the spring of 5 years ago. I called it Cosmic Bloom. Note the subtle difference in the nebula's core, a hidden phoenix, a personal touch, which Ms. Hayes's reproduction conspicuously lacks, replacing it with a generic starburst. A detail easily missed by a copier, but profoundly meaningful to the creator. The air in the gallery grew frigid. Serena's smile faltered, replaced by a contorted grimace. She lunged forward, shrieking accusations of envy and sabotage, but her words were drowned out by the escalating chatter online and the hushed murmurs in the room. The carefully constructed facade crumbled. The public outcry was instantaneous and vicious. Within minutes, Serena's social media channels exploded with condemnation, sponsorship deals evaporated, and police, alerted by the gallery management, arrived to escort a screaming, protesting Serena away in handcuffs. The flash of the cameras highlighted her utter ruin. During her interrogation, Serena, in a fit of bitter despair and desperate self-preservation, began to reveal more than just her plagiarism. Driven by her own catastrophic downfall, she implicated Julian. He knew, she shrieked, her voice hoarse. He always encouraged me to take inspiration from Eliza's old sketchbooks, her abandoned potential. Said she was too soft to ever make anything of it. She rattled off details of Julian's own shadowy business dealings, his history of appropriating intellectual property for the Carter Group, often dismissing the original creators with legal threats or paltry settlements. He profited from it all, just like he promised I would. He built his empire on others' work. Marcus, having anticipated such a possibility, moved swiftly. Leveraging Serena's recorded confession, corroborated with his own extensive research into the Carter Group's less-than-ethical acquisitions over the years, he presented a compelling case to several major corporations that had long suspected Julian Thorne and the Carter Group of intellectual property infringements. The plagiarism scandal was merely the tip of a much larger, more insidious iceberg. A wave of joint lawsuits, unprecedented in scope and potential financial impact, began to crash against the once unshakable foundations of the Carter Group, each writ bearing the cold, quiet promise of justice. The cold, quiet promise of justice quickly morphed into a roaring avalanche. The combined weight of the lawsuits, spearheaded by corporations now emboldened by Serena's exposed fraud and Julian's implied complicity, hit the Carter Group with devastating force. What had once seemed an unshakable empire crumbled in months. Assets were frozen, accounts seized, and the once impeccable Thorne family name became synonymous with scandal and financial ruin. Julian Thorne, stripped of his inherited wealth, his public image shattered, and his lavish lifestyle evaporating, found himself not just penniless, but drowning in insurmountable debt. The vast, empty halls of what was once his palatial estate felt like a mocking tomb. He lost everything: the cars, the properties, even the tailored suits that had defined his superficial grandeur. Months later, Eliza received a faded, handwritten letter, smudged and hesitant, delivered by a messenger service. It was from Julian. He had found work as a night watchman at a forgotten warehouse on the city's industrial outskirts, a stark contrast to his former life. His words were a desperate, rambling plea, laced with self-pity. He spoke of his suffering, of how he'd been misled by Serena, how his father's death and the pressures of the family business had broken him. He painted a picture of a man utterly transformed by hardship, yearning for redemption, and, most tellingly, yearning for her, for the Eliza he remembered, the one who could somehow mend his shattered world. He begged for a meeting, just one, promising to prove he was no longer the man who had wronged her, but a broken soul ready to dedicate his life to making amends. Eliza, now a celebrated figure in the design world, her studio thriving, her heart full with Marcus's unwavering love, read the letter with a quiet, almost academic detachment. There was no anger, no flicker of the old pain, only a profound sense of distance. Julian, always so adept at manipulating perceptions, still believed his suffering would be a currency for her forgiveness, a path back into her life. He understood nothing of her journey, of the person she had become. She agreed to meet him, choosing a neutral, public park bench on a crisp autumn afternoon. Julian arrived, a gaunt shadow of his former self. His expensive clothes replaced by ill-fitting, worn garments, his once impeccable hair now dull and unkempt. His eyes, however, still held that familiar, desperate glint of entitlement, disguised as regret. He launched into his rehearsed monologue, recounting his fall from grace, the coldness of his former associates, the betrayal of Serena. He reached for her hand, his voice thick with what he hoped was emotion. "Eliza," he whispered, "I know I don't deserve it, but I've changed. I need you. I can't imagine a life without you. Please, give me another chance. We can start over, somewhere new, far from all this." Eliza gently withdrew her hand. Her voice was calm, clear, devoid of accusation or warmth. "Julian," she said, her gaze steady, "the person you betrayed, the woman who believed in us, no longer exists. She died the day she lost her child. You didn't come. You weren't there. And even if you had, that person is gone. You're speaking to a stranger. There is nothing to fix between us because there is nothing left. My life, my happiness, it has nothing to do with you. I wish you peace, but I am not, and never will be, part of your future. His face crumpled, the carefully constructed facade of a penitent man collapsing into genuine despair. He stared at her, then at the ring Marcus had placed on her finger, and the dawning realization of her complete, serene happiness, utterly independent of him, broke something fundamental inside him. He left without another word, a broken shell. 2 days later, the news hit the local papers. Julian Thorne, once a prominent figure, had been found dead in his apartment, an apparent suicide. The police report noted unsent messages on his phone, desperate pleas for Eliza to reconsider, words filled with self-pity and a final, pathetic attempt to reclaim what he believed was his. His end was as isolated and devoid of genuine connection as his life had become. Months turned into a year. Eliza, hand in hand with Marcus, strolled across the manicured lawns of their old university campus, the place where their story had unknowingly begun. The autumn leaves crunched beneath their feet, a symphony of renewal. She was visibly pregnant, her radiant smile reflecting the quiet joy that filled her life. Marcus squeezed her hand, his eyes alight with love and pride. The scars of her past remained, etched into her memory, but they no longer defined her. Instead, they were testament to her resilience, to the architect she had become. She had built a new life, not on vengeance, but on love, truth, and enduring peace, a testament to the power of self-worth. They walked towards a future boundless in its promise, a testament to enduring love and hope reborn.